Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reish.
Hello there, and welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish, a show that teaches you to live your very best life. Today's show is, to me, a passionate topic, a controversial topic, something that's in the news a lot these days, and as a mother raising a little girl, a topic that really is so important to me. I don't think we talk about it nearly enough, and the topic is misogyny. And it's, a lot of people don't even know what misogyny means. And again, it's discrimination against women. And it's very prevalent in our society. So if you're listening to the show and you're female, you want to hear this. But if you're a male, you want to hear this too, because maybe you're thinking, I don't want to hear this female empowerment stuff. But I think that misogyny hurts us all because you're fathers too, and you're raising little girls. And I think that, again, it's like racism. It's anything that hurts someone else is ultimately going to hurt you. I right away thought of this topic. I thought I got to bring on the infamous and brilliant Georgia Dow, who's been on this show many times, top psychotherapist at the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression, but an empowered woman and a feminist and a strong woman. And you were talking before the show about how we met, and I'll let you tell that story in a moment, but you exemplify a lot of things I think are so important here. You're a working woman. You're a mother of two kids. You have many businesses going on. You're a psychotherapist, but you're involved also in iMore and podcasts about computers. So which is a very male-dominated field.
It's a very male-dominated field. And I think that, I'll lead you in on the story how we met, but we had an instant connection when we met. You've been working at the center for years. People have heard you on the show, but it really comes back to, and you said to me, it comes back to our first conversation was about misogyny. So I'll let you tell that, but first let me just say thank you so much for coming on. And welcome back to Straight Talk, Georgia Dow. Well, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a really important talk. I'm very excited that we're talking about this because it's something that we often don't speak about. I think that there's a lot of misogyny that kind of goes under wraps. We don't notice it. There's probably things that I do myself that I'm not really aware of, and pieces that I'm not helping the cause of helping equality and helping everyone have a seat at the table to make the world a better place.
So well said. And I love that you're saying that you might be perpetuating, and I join you in that. And as a matter of fact, part of our segments today is going to be some research I've come upon about how women do perpetuate misogyny.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's in our language. And I'll start off by saying that I remember years ago hearing that, in music, it's no longer okay to, you're not supposed to use these global stereotypical generalizations and derogatory words against racial groups, the N-word, there's a whole bunch of words for different racial groups. It's not tolerated. There's a lot of demonstrations that go on, but somehow making comments about women in songs, it's like the final frontier. It's still considered fairly normal to call a woman a bitch in a song, and it's a fairly commonplace. It's almost become part of our zeitgeist, and that's a problem. That's a very big problem. And the article that I read on that was saying that it's almost like the final frontier, because as long as it's normalized, it's perpetuated.
Yes, and it's okay and popular, and then you're cool. And I think that that's one of the things that you and I first bonded on.
Yeah, tell that story.
When we first met. Well, so I meet Sandra for the first time. One of these, we told the story before, so I won't get into it, but it was this really strange idea of, wanting to rent an office that she did not actually have a rent for. I called her up, we ended up meeting, and what was going to be a 5-minute meeting, we ended up speaking for 3 hours. And one of the things that we really bonded on was that you said how there's enough out there for everyone, and that you really believe in a sisterhood, and that we should all be there to support each other. And I think that, and we'll speak about it a little bit in more detail, but I think that women are also very hard on other women. The people that should be your main allies in, helping other women
get up to the plate to be able to have a voice and speak up, we are often the ones that most feel like jealousy or hardship or envy and try to push others down. And so I think that usually when we talk about misogyny, it's usually aimed at men, and men often feel like they're going to be male bashed. And I think that actually in a lot of ways I have felt misogyny more from women than I ever had from men.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. That's a real difficulty. And that's where we bonded at, that you were like, it was wonderful because you're like, no, I think that we really need to support each other and talk with each other and help each other out, and how, having a girlfriend is such an important thing to have in your life. And it was very refreshing, and I think it doesn't happen enough.
And I'll take it one step further. And you said so many nice things and important things in there. That was something like 7 years ago, Georgia, when we met.
I can't believe that.
And I'm happy to say that the Montreal Centre for Anxiety and Depression, is all women. It's all actually, sorry, that's not true. There's one male working there, but we're mainly women.
Yes.
And what I wanted is I really wanted the workplace to be sisterhood too. And I think it's fair to say that there's none of that kind of cattiness or any of that stuff going on that you were referring to. I will piggyback on your comment about how women can be very tough on each other. It's definitely, I have a lot of frustration about that, and I have things to say. I will add in here, though, that when we research where this comes from, are women just born catty? The answer is no, they're not. So what's the process? How come women are turning on each other? And they're turning on each other nonstop. The mothers who stay home tell the mothers that work that they're bad mothers. Mothers who go to work tell mothers that stay home that they have no lives. I mean, we compare ourselves. We do lots of mean things to each other as women. But this is the part where it does unfortunately trace back a little bit, not just to women.
No, it doesn't. It's a real cultural phenomenon that we go through. And if we go all the way back, you can think about tribal villages. So the men went out and they hunted and they brought back food, and the women were all together and trying to learn the social dynamic, and they were fighting among each other for men and for resources and for being taken care of. And so that has kind of perpetuated this women versus women on the hierarchy. And I think it's still very, very prevalent, that feeling that there's only going to be like that one token female on the board of directors, and so we have to fight each other out because that could happen, that if you're chosen, it will be against me. Or that also, I think that in our culture, we're pitted against each other.
Yes.
Oh, she's so much more beautiful, or wow, but she's really smart. So it's not even that it's a level playing field, that we almost feel like that it is there's 17 people there, but it's me against the other woman. And so now we're going to be the ones that are going to be looked at as which one is better in which ways. And so it goes back all the way to our evolution as the way that we formed our societies, in certain ways, the way that we formed our societies. But then it's culturally taught through TV and advertising and parentage and language and culture.
Yeah, well, parenting's a big factor.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's funny because this also comes back to this idea that it's very important for a woman to find a man.
Right.
Ideally.
Very good one.
And there's only a limited amount of men. For a long time in the world, there's been more women than men.
Yeah.
And parents, it's a scarcity kind of thought that, there's only a certain amount of men, so you better be better than the next woman.
Yeah.
And it starts this competitive thing, which men may not have created this, but the only one who benefits from that is men. It certainly is not good for our young girls, is it?
No, and if women fight among themselves, then they're not going to be fighting for power and doing other things. And it was also, when you talk about that, women better find a man, I think that that's a really true statement.
Yeah.
If a man is alone, they just think that he hasn't found the right person, or he doesn't want to be in a relationship, and it's okay for a man to be single. If a woman chooses to be single,
something's wrong
then
with
there's
her.
Something wrong with you. Why haven't you found someone? What's wrong with you? And the same thing for children. If a woman chooses not to have children, there must be something wrong with her. So there's a lot of different levels where misogyny can hit.
I hate to say it, but even the field of psychology, our own field, has had its struggle with this. We know that, the diagnostic manual that we all follow as, in the field of psychology, there's a lot of controversy on the fact, we respect it, but there's a lot of controversy on who is writing that diagnostic manual.
Yes.
And what we know is it's white males. Now, I can offer this story that when I was a young intern,
many, many moons ago, but not so many that this should have happened. I remember us interviewing a woman in her 30s. She had come in with an anxiety problem. This is not at our clinic. This is many years ago. And in a good assessment, you ask their history. Are you married? What's going on? How's the marriage? She wasn't married. She was like late 30s, getting towards the end of her childbearing years. And after the patient would leave, there would be discussion about, what's going on, who would be the good match. And I was young and impressionable. And again, we're not talking, unfortunately, that long ago. And at that time, the psychologist and the psychiatrist in the room said, well, she didn't marry and she didn't have kids, so there's got to be something very wrong here. And, that's our field. That's our field. And it wasn't my time. I was an intern. It wasn't my time to say, I would pull the feminist thing, I would have been out of there. But it is really disturbing. And I think that at the beginning of the show, we talked about how women do ourselves buy into this. How many times do you, I know myself, constantly get young women in my office who are obsessed with finding somebody, and that becomes we say raison d'être, your reason for being.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Yes.
And why is it a problem? Is it because I just think it's a problem? Why is it a problem?
No, it's because then you're not whole on your own. You need, for women, you are taught that, and it goes all the way back to all of our fairy tales, right?
Yes.
Everywhere it was that the main object of the story was she found her prince.
One day her prince will come.
She got married, and then that was happily ever after. It wasn't about her own finding what her dreams and thoughts and wants. And she wasn't the hero. She was the victim that needed to be saved.
Yes.
And all of these little unconscious pieces create that feeling of women want to be princesses and get married and have kids, and you give them dolls and they're going to
Which is nice. Nice. It's not the whole story, though.
With a variety of other things.
Yes.
But we end up with this being it, and then you end up feeling that if I'm alone, I on my own am not enough. I am not whole without someone else to make me whole. My status in society has not been fulfilled unless I choose the cultural norm. And that can be really damaging, because then you end up kind of forgetting yourself, or maybe even being in bad relationships because I don't want to be that person.
Oh my God, you're bringing up a lot of good stuff, because that is how women end up in bad relationships. Because if you're not whole, then, I probably deserve whatever bad treatment I'm getting. I'm touched also that indirectly you brought up the fairy tales, because as you know, I wrote a book on that. Once upon a time, how Cinderella grew up and became a happy, empowered woman, because fairy tales and those movies wreaked havoc in my life. I mean, do you remember the Tom Cruise movie where he walks into the room and says, "You complete me"?
Yes.
And that seemed like the most romantic thing I'd ever heard at the time. That's a setup for a disaster. "You complete me" suggests you're not complete.
Yes.
I used to think that was incredibly romantic.
Right.
And it caused me a lot of problems in life. And I think that we are talking the year 2017. It's hard to believe. Now, don't misunderstand us. I mean, marriage and kids, we're both married with kids. We're believers. We think there's a lot of perks to being married. It's just like you said, there's a lot of other variables. And if marriage is, and this one's for the men too, if marriage is supposed to fulfill me, then wow, there's a lot of responsibility also on your partner. He has to always make you happy. And if he doesn't, I have no responsibility. Again, very princess-like.
Yes, very
problematic.
So. Very problematic. And whenever there's an outside source that wants to make you feel whole and happy, that's not going to work out, right? That's not going to make you feel good, because you have to make you feel good. You don't ever want to lean on someone else. I love your story about the trees. Can you quickly do the trees thing? The leaning trees.
Yeah,
I love the trees.
I wish it was mine. You're so sweet. It's Jung, Carl Jung's. He talks about trees in relationships. There's trees that are very far apart and they never touch. So that's not so good, because you're you can't really create a partnership like that. And then there's trees that are fused together, which is kind of like you complete me. And the problem with trees being fused together is if the vitamins are being pulled from one tree to another, one of the trees has to die.
Right.
So a healthy relationship, says Jung, is trees that come apart. It's hard to do this on the radio, but apart and come together. That leaves
the leaves can intermingle,
but they have their own trunks.
They stand
on their own.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's so important. And, another thing that really popped up for me last couple of years ago, we do the Empowered Women, and that we were looking for a clip for our PowerPoints, did you see that commercial during the Super Bowl where they had the commercial of you run like a girl? Do you remember that one?
Commercial.
It was like really a wake-up call for me and my husband.
Yes.
Because we might have said that comment without even realizing
that
we're perpetuating a stereotype. What's wrong with that?
It was so heartbreaking too, because they said that to young girls who said show me what it's like to throw like a girl. And when they were really young, they'd throw strong and hard.
Yeah.
And then when they hit the teen years, throwing like a girl and you could see that through culture and media and the way that we deal with things, that there was a change in between both of them, and it really broke my heart to then see them, boys and girls at a certain age would then show that as being weak and bad at it and sickly when they did it. And it's something that probably, I've definitely said, wow, you punch like a girl before in my life, for sure.
I'm sure you're more cautious about it. Now, I know I am, ever since that commercial, it was good my husband saw it too, that's not a comment we would make anymore. But it's, and I guess a little controversy, before we take a break, is that the show's not going to be purely political, but I guess I do have to say that the fact that we have somebody, and this is going to be controversial, but we have somebody running the free world who has made so many misogynist comments and was voted into office. I mean, doesn't that just say it's okay to talk like this? I was looking some stuff up before we came on the show, and there's lists and lists of things that he has said, all you have to do is have a good piece of ass next to you, and it's okay to talk that way about women. And I think some people might go, oh, you're being too sensitive, but everybody says that until it's your issue.
Yes. Or it's your daughter.
Yep.
Or your mom that's being spoken of like this. And I think that we often try to separate from things and say that we don't want to be sensitive and we don't want to be overly emotional about it. So I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to rock the boat or seem like that woman, right? Which is another one of those comments that people do, because I don't want to seem like I'm overly emotional or hurt by this.
I'm so glad you're here with me, Georgia, because I knew you'd be the perfect person to have this conversation with. We're going to take a short break. Don't go away. We'll teach you some ways that you may be internalizing misogyny in your own household. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com. and change your life forever.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
Hi, we're back. We've been having a great conversation even on the break. I want to go through a couple of things. And by the way, if you want to join the conversation, you want to make a comment or ask a question, feel free to call in at 1-866-472-5792. Okay, so two things I wanted to get out, and then Georgia has something fascinating to present. It sounds like we're doing a conference, but you know, she's going to tell you some interesting stuff, because I also want people to realize and how do we change the world, not just vent and complain about it. So a couple of things I wanted to say is my comments about the the leader of the free world, why this is disturbing to me is, I was even saying to our producer on the break, is that if the president were to make a comment using the N-word, for example, like that would be a disaster. And our race relations in the United States are far from ideal. But he would not be allowed to say a comment with the N-word, but yet he's been allowed to make many, many comments, and it's tolerated, that are subjugation of women. So again, there is something in our society that women are still at the bottom of the heap. So I just want to finish this thought about how we as women perpetuate it. So listen to these comments, Georgia. Women say these comments. And by the way, I just should also throw out that we see a preponderance of eating disorders. They're not going down more than ever, of young girls trying to, anyways, okay, so we'll tie it all together. I'm not like other girls. Girls say that, and that's supposedly a good thing. Yes. I'm not like other girls means girls are bad.
Yes.
And I'm proud because I'm not like girls.
Yes.
Another one I hear all the time is, I'd rather hang out with boys than girls. Girls are so much drama. Okay?
Yes.
So people listening might say, well, what's wrong with that? Girls are so much drama. What's wrong with it?
Because it's a stereotype, right? You would never, if you would not say that about any other race. So a great way to see is this being misogynistic or wrong would be replace that with Asian people or Black people or something else to that. If that makes you go, oh, I would never say that, then you shouldn't have women in that place either. So, that's a really easy way as a litmus test to say, is what I'm saying really stereotyping women?
Exactly. That's the question. And even saying, when we say things like, I was reading an article on this, is when we say things like, I'm a bit of a guy. We've had this kind of conversation. I'm a bit of a guy.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, guys are cool.
Yes.
Women are not cool. We're
that one.
Well, many of us.
Yes.
We're histrionic.
Yeah.
We're histrionic. We're problematic. And I think that we don't even realize we're saying that we're putting down our own people.
Yes.
We're our own people. So women listening, this is our issue. And there's one more that I read. I can't find it now, but it was something along the lines as real women have curves. That was interesting. It sounds like it's okay, because it sounds like the overweight population is saying it's okay to have curves. But what about women who don't have curves?
Yes, exactly.
They're not real women then. That's a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem.
And even the word hysterical is a word that came from a misogynistic place, right?
Okay, so who cares? Georgia, who cares if people are misogynist? Why should we care about this? People are listening. Who cares? That's the way it is. It's always been that way. What's the big deal?
Well, it would be the same thing that would be equality with people that are different colors and other diversity and people that are blind, and dealing with that is that we need to bring, our culture and society is strongest when we all have a piece at the table. Diversity builds strength. I love that piece at the
table. Say more. Amen.
It's true.
What's a piece at the table? What does that mean?
If everyone has a seat at the table, we all see the world from one different angle. And so diversity builds strength. if you have a different perspective and you say, you know what, well, what about this? This builds strength for companies,
the American Psychological Association,
for different ways of which to look at things.
So it shouldn't just be white men.
No, if you're advertising and you're advertising something to women and there are no women there, you may be missing something that only a woman might understand. Yeah. If you have a product and there's a lot, you've never had it advertised, maybe someone blind would say, you know what, could we fix this one little tiny thing and this would really be helpful to us. But without asking for someone to be allowed to have that voice, you're going to be missing a whole bunch of the world because you've only seen it from your perspective. And if you are, a white male, the world is very different than if you are a black female.
Oh, yes.
It's just a different part of the world. You may not see it because you only know if you've walked in someone else's shoes. And so I think that's something really important. And I think that that's also another piece is that for feminism, I think that a lot of black women and other women of different places have felt that they have not really been part of the feminist group. And so I think that you also sometimes need to stop speaking so that someone else may speak.
Yeah, it's so important what you're saying, and it's I think having a place at the table, and I brought up the American Psychological Association as one example. It's extremely important because culture is a factor in mental illness.
Yes.
In some cultures, having hallucinations is a sign of brilliance.
Yes.
But yet,
shamanism.
Yes. And we're not considering different ways of looking at things. And again, I think that the other piece of this is I think that, we saw this at the clinic and we've seen this, and when we met, that women can support each other. We are capable of doing that. You just have to create an environment where there's safety and you don't foster competition in women. If you foster competition and insecurity in any people, you're going to see the darkest side of them.
Yes.
And so we're set up a little bit. We'll put a whole bunch of women, and I hear men say, sometimes women saying, oh, there's a whole bunch of women, we turn on each other. But sometimes their competition's being fostered.
Yes, exactly. And for the enjoyment of other, I do a podcast, and it's a podcast with women. It's about diversity and a lot of diverse issues, and we talk about some very heavy issues. And I remember getting from another very prominent person in the podcast industry to say, be careful for this other woman colleague that you have. She's going to try trying to build competition. She's going to try to take your position, and you have to do this. And I said, you know what? I wish the best for her. She's brilliant and smart, and I don't have to worry. There's enough pie for us all. That she's brilliant does not make me any less brilliant. She's just brilliant, and I can learn and enjoy and reap the benefits of being with someone that's brilliant.
Okay, so this brings up, before we go into the test, this brings up a strategy for women too. This is some of the takeaway, how do you change the world? We're always on to that, is that women, even if insecurity is being fostered or competitiveness, which ideally in your workplace isn't being done, but even if it's there, subtly or otherwise, you don't have to buy into the fact that there's not enough for everyone. I mean, you're pretty alpha female, that's again an expression, alpha female, meaning you're a powerhouse as far as I'm concerned. But you are. She's smiling, but you are. And I'm, most people would say I'm a powerhouse too, and she's nodding. We work very closely together. It could be a recipe for a disaster.
Yes.
We have a business together.
Yes.
And there's enough room for both of us to shine. And why can't there be? So I think that's something we have to start off with.
You're so right. And if you shine more, it helps me shine.
That's right.
But
you have to buy into that.
That's something that has to be taught to
your
our
kids.
Little girls.
Yes.
That having someone else be smart or wonderful, brilliant, does not make your light any more dim, right?
Very good.
Lengthen your own line.
And the other part of that is you don't need to ever dim your light also.
Oh, I like that.
That's the other part. You don't need to dim your lights, to be more feminine or whatever. Don't dim your light. And yes, if someone else, I love hanging around with people who have a lot of light on them.
Yes.
It's great learning.
Yes.
Georgia, what's a Bechdel test?
I love this. I love this. This is something that's really interesting. And this goes a little bit into media and culture and advertising, what we already fight for. So this was a test that was invented by Alison Bechdel, who runs a comic strip. And she said that, how many movies does do two female actresses in the movie, or are there even two female actresses, right? It used to be that whoever had a boardroom, or that it was like there might be the one token female. But when two women are speaking to each other, and it is not about a man.
Wow.
So how often does that happen, where two women are talking to each other, and it is not about a male? Now, it doesn't even have to be about sex. I'm not talking about Sex in the City. I'm talking about, this could even be about Bobby went and did this, where their entire dialogue to each other is about, to support of a male. And so that started, and people then started to look up movies to see, does it pass the Bechdel test?
Interesting.
And so I would love for everyone, when you watch a movie, ask yourself,
does it pass the Bechdel?
Does it? Yeah.
I thought I had one. I was all excited. I thought I had fried green tomatoes, but I realized that there was a male dynamic because they were trying to get away from an abusive husband. So there was still that.
If they, as long as they have a
Did
conversation.
You see that movie?
Oh, I love that movie.
Was that not a great female movie?
Great movie, and I think that might.
Well, a movie about females. I don't mean a great. Only for females.
No.
Now being all paranoid.
No. And I don't know. I would love for someone to comment actually if it passed. I believe that one would pass, because it doesn't have to be that they never talk about men.
That's what came to mind.
It has to be that they have. Thelma and Louise would also pass that test. But then let's talk about movies where there's lots of men in it. And so now people that are writing movies are thinking about this.
Okay. Yeah. It's really great, this information. I find it so fascinating. It's another subtlety, though, I think psychologically, if in fact the majority of movies are women talking about men, again, it perpetuates into our society.
What is your purpose?
Yeah. And so, again, our those fairy tales again. Yes. I've noticed that with my daughter, I don't know if you've ever seen the Barbie movies. They're quite empowering. The women are all like you, actually. They're doing
karate?
Jiu-jitsu. And they're strong, empowered women. And she watches those, and I get, I like that when I see that.
Yes.
But I think we have to be careful what our little girls are watching, because, it can't be always this idea of relying on men and these movies that perpetuate it.
And Barbies are also really beautiful. I have to say, the Barbie thing just bothers me, and that's just for media altogether. British
another problem.
And European movies have much more diverse set of looks versus American movies. And even when I watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American version, they're beautiful, versus the British version, and they're okay looking, but it's not that same perpetuated beauty that you have to be beautiful, and you can't be an elderly woman in a movie anymore, right? That 40, they used to say that if you're 40 and an actress, there's no more acting to that, and that's horrible. So I love Mad Max. I love. Did you see the Fury Road?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's such a good movie about female empowerment. There's older women and they're fighting, and it's not this is not a deep movie, but there's some scenes there, but it's great. It's about women helping women. I want to find out, does it pass the Bechdel test?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that we have to look. I think you're putting another thing on the list, because the Barbie movies, for me at least, there was this issue of female empowerment, but it's true, they are very pretty. And I think that brings up, we're going into the fact that if you don't fit into the stereotype of what a beautiful woman is, that's another big issue. And I think we're seeing body shaming more and more at the clinic. We're seeing eating disorders more and more at the clinic. What is the relationship, Georgia, between an eating disorder and misogyny? Is there a relationship?
I think that a lot of that, yes, for sure. Well, one is the look to it. Women care so much about their looks, and if they don't look beautiful, they have no value. That's a big one. I think also the validation. Also, the feeling of, now when we have so much photoshopped everything, and it puts a lot of pressure on that's who I am. My value is in my appearance, or in what I have, or in who I'm in. And I think that also in your own family dynamics, if you have a parent that does not value you, and this could be either parent that does not value you for who you are, but thinks that you are going to be lesser because you are a woman, you will also, your entire barometer, right, of who you are as a woman is dealt with by, what does your parent think of you?
Yeah.
What can you accomplish? Right?
Yeah, and this is fairly new too, because it's a new world that we're learning this. And I'm curious what your thoughts would be on the fact that, we're talking about how women have to stop talking negatively about women. And what do you do also if you're in an environment and somebody, maybe a work environment, maybe not, and like a comment was made. I remember we were at the Empowered Woman workshop. We just came back, and there was a very nice gentleman talking to us in the steam room. They were really nice guys. And at one point, they were joking, but they compared a bunch of women to a bunch of screaming cats, and one of our participants was very offended by that, or he said it jokingly. And I wonder, it's a bit like when people make a racist joke, what do? Do you go ha ha ha, or do you walk away from it? I personally feel that if you stay in a racist joke environment, you're part of it. I didn't even pick up on, he went something like you're all gaggling like a bunch of screaming cats. And there was someone on the trip who said they seemed nice until they said that comment, that I wasn't comfortable with that. But people might feel a little uncomfortable to say that's rude because it's just a joke. What are your thoughts on this?
It's hard because I think that it's such a part of our culture that often someone might make a comment that is like, that one could have been that, he's just, not saying it about women. He would have said it by men if they were, teenage boys and having fun too. And so it's really difficult. And I don't think that people should feel like they're walking on eggshells. But I do think that you have a right to be able to say, something to, and what are you guys like when you're hanging out, or something that people kind of can look and then gauge what's happening to here. Because I think that in a lot of cases, sometimes people, I might say I'm tough like a boy or something like that can come out because it's such a habit unconsciously.
Right.
And
isn't that sad, eh?
It's sad, but it's great that we're now being conscious to that. But I think that if you come off very, very harshly to someone that did not mean in a bad way, you could turn other people off from a side that you want to pull them into.
Right.
You want to help make people aware if they did not mean to. There's other cases where, you've had people, and you've probably had this, right? You ever had someone at a dinner or a restaurant that is trying to make you annoyed or hurt or upset on purpose? Have you ever been in that?
Yeah.
Now that I find very irksome. That bothers me. If someone says it and I don't think that they meant it, and it might be an off color, I might just try to educate them or let them know that might be not the right way to do it. But what do you do when someone, and I'll ask you, what do you do when you think that someone is saying, women can't do that, just to get your goat?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll start it, and I'll have to cliffhanger a little bit because we're about to go to commercial. But I have to say, it depends what the situation is, but it's difficult because if they're trying to get my goat, I'm I'd have a tendency to fight back. I wouldn't like it. That's just what women do. I'd be extremely offended. But before I sound all cool about this, and this is where the cliffhanger comes in, I have been in a situation where, a work situation where there was this, a building situation where I talk about another woman in the building. There's a conflict between a building conflict, which has nothing to do with femaleness. I had to go to a male boss.
Yeah.
And the male boss said, well, that's because you women turn on each other. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back, and let's talk about what do you do in a situation like that. We'll be right back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Spa Munari is a full-service wellness day spa located at the heart of West Island, Quebec. Submerge yourself in beauty with one of our many treatments, specially catered to your needs. We offer facials, manicures, pedicures, hair removal, massages, body treatments, and so much more. Enjoy our ultimate relaxation experience with our spa packages. We offer a men's menu as well. Call us today to book your next appointment at 514-695-5040 or visit us on the web at spamunari.com. That's 514-695-5040 or spamunari.com.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Your life, your health, your network. This is Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
So we're back with Straight Talk. We left on a bit of a cliffhanger. This issue of you're in a work situation, you're having a problem, let's say with a coworker, someone in the building, whatever. You go to your male boss and you say, I'm having a problem with this person. You don't bring up any disparaging comments about their gender because there's nothing to say. That you're having a problem with the person, and your male boss turns around and says, well, that's because women can be so bitchy to each other. What do? Dow.
Wait, we're doing that. That's a therapist thing. They switch it around and suddenly it becomes that. Okay.
She's a therapist.
Okay, I'll give you my 2 1s. So whenever someone, I have two different kind of ways to it. One's more funny, one's more biting, and one I just kind of let it go because sometimes you want to fight, sometimes you don't want to fight. If you don't, and you're not going to change someone, I'm not going to let them think that it gets bothered.
That's right.
I'm not giving them what they want. If they're actually searching for it, it's not happening. If I think that they're trying to get a little bit of a dig at me, I dig back. Like I'm like, ooh, you want to play? Let's play. So I might be something like, I might shoot back a snide little tiny comment about something about them and be like, please, let's not talk about you men. We don't need to get into any fist fights though, at least, or how many wars did women start? Or maybe I would do it a little bit more funny. I might do it a little bit funnier, like being like, oh, you better tuck in your shirt. Your misogyny is showing.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like it a lot. You better tuck in your shirt. Your misogyny is showing.
Yeah. Oh. Just a little cute, just kind of a little
snippy,
thing.
and to remind them that you didn't appreciate that comment in a QA.
Just a little, like if you want to battle, we battle. Yeah. Right. And that is for men. Especially, but also for any time that someone's kind of trying to tease or bully you, a little bit of a shot back, then we respect each other. We're like, okay, we'll go back to our final corners, and that's cool. I can't do that with you.
What's the other one? You said 2 1.
Or I'd be funny. So one of them is more of a dig back. So I'd be like, like what about, this? Like something that would be about them or, something that they could kind of take a look at it from a different angle, or I would use humor to that. And then the other one would be that I just don't play. I would just ignore it completely to that and just be like, walk away so that I'm not engaging in this conversation.
How far would you take it? Like, there have been, I worked in a bar for many years, different population, and there have been comments. I've seen men make comments to women where like, you seem a little cranky. Is it that time of your month?
Right.
Like, dear, like that would be really offensive to me.
You see, that one I would probably say specifically, and you're single, why?
What if they're not single though?
So you'd be like, your poor girlfriend, right? Yeah. Like, I might show sympathy, or I might say like, that must be really hard for you.
Yeah.
And they would say, what do you mean? And I'd be like, well, being you with that type of a feeling towards women must be really hard. So I might go a different way to that. I think that it would all depend on the person and what is with it. And sometimes I choose, and I think that this might not always work, but sometimes you know that it's like a family member and it's going to become something very negative.
Yeah.
You don't have to always fight. And I think that that's something that many women that consider themselves feminists might feel upset if someone else does not always say something. And I think that's
how
sometimes
I felt with the gaggling cats. I felt like it was a bit of a dumb comment.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it was a misogynist comment.
No,
you know when you feel the
been.
difference,
Yeah.
you know, you can kind of feel when someone's coming after you or not.
Yeah, and you don't always have to fight.
No,
I think that
fighting
becomes
doesn't always
exhausting.
work. Yeah.
And I think that, sometimes women can get upset over something that was out of an act of kindness. You want to kind of feel the intention to it. If I'm not sure that the intention was not mal, then I don't think that you being really harsh or angry, it might do more harm than good, because in the end, how do we get back to it? We have to all be on the same page. Men and women and children and people with disabilities and people of all, we want to all be in the same area and working together. And so we want everyone on each team.
So,
what do you think about those? What do you think about that?
I'm the kind of person, I think I agree, because I think that if I have seen people make sexist, racist, all sorts of inappropriate comments and not, like, believe it or not, and not that I believe the intentions are good enough, because the road to hell is paved with
good intentions.
But I do believe intention is a factor, and if someone's like ignorant, it's different than if someone's malevolent.
Yes.
It's a different ballgame. So I quite agree with you. I've seen even people of color kind of like roll their eyes but not get really triggered. I think that being angry and on guard all the time is a dangerous way to be.
Yes.
I think, though, I'd add on, and I've seen you put this on your Twitter, and I'm a big fan of that poem that was written so many years ago about first they came for the Arabs, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't Arab. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the Greeks, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Greek. And then they came for the Gypsies, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Gypsy. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak up for me. I think that on the other hand, there's a collective responsibility. So I was about to ask you if this is something in your office that you bring up to your patients, because I'll volunteer to you that I do. What I do is I notice a lot of women self-deprecate and put down their own womanness.
Yes.
And I do say to them, oh my God, you're being misogynist to yourself. They're subjugating themselves to a category. And I will point it out, not in any kind of aggressive or fighting way, but like, be careful what you're saying, because if you make it okay to put down your own group, then we can't be annoyed when other people do.
Yes.
I don't like that in race either. I don't like when people think it's cool to put down their own race. I don't think it's cool. No. Because I think, you have permission to do whatever you want, but then the rest of the world thinks it's okay to do it too.
And you're feeding a pond of things, and then what happens with your children and every other piece to it.
Yeah.
Because they're also feeding to that. There's a movement called Gamergate. This is really controversial, but we might as well go there. And they were upset. It's not about ethics in journalism, though they say that, but it's really about having women characters in video games and movies, and that it's a change. And sometimes people are afraid of change, and that's scary. And so this society changes, and we talk about anxiety and fear, and that is about change in the unknown. And so they talk about why do women need to have women characters in video games and people of color in video games, and that's not really that important. And there were very few women characters playing video games, and it was very interesting because I was watching my boys play a video game where it's a main female character, and the way they were speaking about her was, wow, she's so strong. Isn't she smart?
Ooh.
And I'm getting a little teary thinking about it, because I'm like, that's why it's important.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I really get that.
Because it's changing how they see women, because here it is, this character. So if all of your heroes are only male, then who are you? Yeah. And that's the same thing for dolls when they only had white dolls. Yeah. Then who are you?
Right. How do you identify yourself?
I'm not the mermaid. I'm not this. Where am I in
Where
this?
do I fit in?
Right?
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. I remember watching a lot of TV shows when I look back on the 80s and seeing the roles and the way that they dealt with ethnicity. And it is horrible to see, the white males and there's nothing wrong with white males being in places of power, but let's all share a piece at the table. And the people that are different ethnicities, ethnic groups, were the people committing crimes, and the women were the one that were serving the men coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so happy that we have gone beyond this.
Well,
because it affects our children.
Yeah, it really
and we
does.
need to keep moving.
Yeah, it really does. And, I guess that's really why I wanted to do the show is, not to be cliched, but we have a long, long way to go.
Yes.
We're still living in a society where, we still, and this brings up a psychological question, so I won't even ramble about it, is the psychological question is what's keeping people from allowing somebody to have a place at the table? And that we're going to arrive at the word fear. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
And what does it come down to? If we allow women and people of ethnicity to have a place at the table, why is that a threat to some people? Because that's a really big topic in North America these days. Why is that such a threat? And I say it's fear.
I think it's fear. I think it's also greed. If there's other people at the table, then maybe I won't have a place.
So
at
it's
the table.
scarcity again. Scarcity.
Yes. And I think it's power.
Power.
So if I make the rules about, me, I can make sure that I am protected. Other people are going to protect them, then I might get less protection to this. Or, you want more pay. I have less money now because you wanted this. It was much better when I got all of it. And you could just take the pittance and we're just so happy that you had a job. It changes everything. And I think that does make for a more even playing field, but a more even playing field for the people that were having most of the playing field seems like just losing of things.
Right. So in talking about this, what we really arrive at is if the antidote to misogyny or part of the antidote is feminism also fits into the category with racism and subjugation of all people. And again, the fact that we're on one topic today, misogyny, but anytime we're keeping a group down, in a way, we're not evolving as a people. And you and I, quite frankly, and that's where I'll get teary-eyed, we've dedicated our lives to helping people evolve. Yes. And that's why this show and you coming on is so meaningful to me. I really, I really wanted to do it with you because it's a problem. It's a really, really big problem. And I've always believed since I was a young child, and I know we share this in common, that we are put on this earth to evolve, not to stay the same.
Yeah,
and we've got to allow everyone at that table. It hurts all of us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And yes, it's fear-based. It's just fear-based. And it comes back to our first meeting. Is there enough for everybody? And unfortunately, when the clinic was open, we had things happen that people were not happy for us.
Yes.
Unfortunately, fear still permeates people to think that there's not going to be enough. And we're hurting a lot of people.
Yes.
So how do we change the world? I mean, it's one person at a time. We're trying to do it in psychology, but people listening, what can be the takeaway today? How can people bring this to their lives and their families? And how do we make it better?
Well, I think that education is a really big deal. I think that we need to start, if possible, also not just from the ground up, but from the top down. I think that we should monitor the way that we say things. I think that we should invite other people to join us in dialogue, in discussion, in our hiring practices. Companies will usually hire people that remind them of themselves, which makes for a very non-diverse group. And that could be women. Women might only hire women too. You might want to say, well, we got a guy.
I got a guy.
But we might want to say that, we feel comfortable with the people that are like us, but we want to not stay away from tribalism and go for diverse and different and try something new. And that can be scary, but that's how change really happens.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Georgia. And I would add one more to that is to be curious about people of a different culture. Be very curious. It's fascinating to find out instead of being afraid of people who are different than you.
Beautifully.
And let's find out more. There's a lot to learn from women, and quite frankly, there's a lot to learn from men too.
Yes.
And let's be curious about each other.
And you know what? You could use that also if you're dealing with someone that's misogynistic. You could say, wow, that's why do you feel that way? What happened in your life? And maybe they have a reason for it that you would go have sympathy for, not just anger towards. Or maybe they would be able to, using a Socratean kind of arguments, they could maybe even come around to, well, I don't really feel this way as much as I did before, and maybe they'll think a little bit twice once it's been analyzed, because often our biases we don't even know we have.
Well, you're touching me now, because that speaks to my late mother's statement that she used to say that a person without conviction is not a person. And I'm touched by that, because it means you have to have conviction on this, and sometimes you have to speak up, and sometimes you have to gently, like you did with your charm, Georgia, is, with jokes or whatever, but to, maybe when people think about it, and luckily as therapists we get a chance to do that every day, and we're very lucky. We're extremely lucky. And I'm very lucky because I got you on this very important show, and we were talking on the break about doing an interesting series coming up in the summer. So stay tuned for more information on that. Georgia, if people want to find you, how do they find you? Thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. You can check out Twitter. It's Georgia at Georgia_Dow, and also there's anxiety videos.
Oh, what are anxiety videos?
Well, we have a video series that we talk about all kinds of subjects like this: anxiety, depression, parenting, boundaries, consequences, sleep issues, and you can check it out. That's anxiety-videos.com.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the show this week and every week. I invite you to come back and continue on next week. If you want more information about anything we talked about on the show, the retreats, therapy, anxiety videos, it's all on helpforanxietydepression.com. We also have free gifts on straighttalksandrareach.com. Just add the /free gifts, radio gifts, and you'll receive all sorts of nice gifts. You can listen to this show anytime on straighttalksandrareach.com, on the podcast app of your iPhone, and on iTunes under Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, and feel free to drop me a comment or question at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. My name is Sandra Reich, and I promise I'll help you learn to live your best life again next Thursday, same time, same channel. In the meanwhile, this is Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, and keep your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.